Hey, what is up, brethren? I'm going to share two Blitz games from this morning, both of which have the same opening. And in one of them, I get absolutely bummed, and in the other one, my opponent gets absolutely bummed. And this really, it shows a couple of things. One is, it does help to understand your theory, and if you can't remember your theory, you have to stop and work it out, which is kind of hard to do in a 5-minute Blitz game, but not impossible. And the second thing is Gambits, man. Gambits are a double-edged sword. If you can... So the whole idea with Gambits, so, I love my Gambits because I lack patience and I want an open, attacking, dangerous game. So the whole point about Gambits is that you give up material in return for initiative, which might be quicker development, for example, or quick attack. And what you have to do is you have to capitalize on that initiative. So in this first game, so what is the Gambit? Well, it's the Calabrese Countergambit. So both games on black, we have e4, e5, and we have the bishop's opening with the bishop coming straight out to c4. And this is known to be quite a spicy and trappy aggressive opening for white. If that's your thing, you might want to look into this bishop's opening because it's got a lot of interesting trappy, funky lines in it. So the Calabrese Countergambit is the immediate f5. Obviously, it's the Freddy Krueger repertoire. And in this game, my opponent plays one of the least seen... pawn takes f5 is played almost half the time. But my opponent here plays bishop takes g8, taking out my knight. And obviously, you recapture with a rook. Then he takes the pawn. Now, good place to stop. Because my thought process was all centered on this lady here, right? My concern was queen h5 check, right? And what I should do in that instance. Because I thought, right, there's only two things. I can block with the rook. I have no knight, right? So my knight that would normally be here could have come to there to stop the queen, okay? But there's no knight. So I was worried about this move. So I played g6. And here's the point. I didn't need to do this. And I actually had a really good lesson yesterday with Ian. And we had this example a couple of times where we analysed one of his previous games where he got an advantage and then lost. But what this is you need to hone the sensitivity to, okay, am I trying to defend against something that hasn't happened yet, right? I see a potential threat down the line. Do I have to respond to it now? Or can I wait till I can see the whites of its eyes? Can I wait until it gets a bit closer, right? Now in this instance, the correct move is actually knight c6, according to my own study, which I will share. Okay, and knight c6, then you see if the queen comes out, then you can play g6. Right, and yes, the queen can capture that pawn, but, imagine the queen captures this pawn. That queen is now kind of out of the game. Yes, she's then attacking your rook, right? So let's say we've got knight here, queen comes here, you push g6, queen takes this, attacking your rook. What do you do then? Knight's out. Well, we'll figure it out. But let me show you the game, okay? So I play this. He takes, and I think, this is all right. It's all right. Right, I'm down a pawn, but I've got some stuff out in the board. My opponent has no development whatsoever. All I need to do is get all this junk out, get my king safe, and I should be all right. But does my opponent let me do that? Okay, I bring out probably the wrong piece here. Yes, I'm targeting f2, but this isn't helping me to get my king safe, and this becomes an issue. Knight comes out, queen comes out, okay? So two pieces now staring down f2, the knight is in the way. Queen comes to here, got two attackers now on this pawn, so something must be done. d6, this allows the bishop to come out. Maybe knight c6 would have been better there, we'll see. Now I bring my bishop out, so I'm proceeding with a plan. But he comes in, attacks my queen, and also forks my bishop. Takes bishop. I'm thinking this isn't too bad. If I can castle, get my rook on d8, that's still not too bad. Drop a pawn. Right, knight comes out hitting the queen. So here the queen is attacking this pawn. Queen's kind of attacking this pawn. I guess knight here actually would have saved both, because then the knight defends this pawn, my queen still defends that. Problem is, with this, I hit the queen and say, please go ahead and take the pawn, because you've got to move anyway. Oh, but, oh no. Yeah, so I undefend c7. And now my king's defense is all over the place. And we try and fight. So this is a really interesting one. So another very instructive point for, you know, the kind of intermediate level. I'm thinking, oh, this is all right. I actually said to myself out loud, free knight. Free knight. I take knight, queen takes queen, my knight boomerangs back round, and I've won a piece. But then I realised, actually, if I take the knight, he's got queen takes knight. With check, right? And that's what I do, queen takes. So, and then my king is now wide open. Now he's threatening to come in with all kinds of unpleasantness. So I run away to c6, and I try and set up a counterattack. So there I'm obviously just doubling up against the bishop. Now the bishop moves, get my queen here. So maybe ideas of just the surprise sucker punch, knife in the ribs. He takes here with a discovered check. I come here, but I didn't realise he has another discovered check with another capture of the pawn, and it's just not going to end well. This is an interesting point, though. He grabs my rook. I come here and attack his rook with a discovery on the queen, but he does have a resource. This is when you have to stop and go, okay, this is my issue. My queen's under attack. My queen has to move. My rook is under attack. What can I do? Queen a3. Okay, solve all your problems at once. The cheeky bishop c6 played very quickly, and my opponent's having none of it, right? He's far more awake than I am. It's first thing in the morning for me, and I blunder my queen and resign. Okay, so that's how badly it can go if you're not prepared. Now, lead chess study, okay? So yeah, 47% of the time, your opponent will just grab the pawn, in which case it's extremely important you have to play your knight to f6. It's very tempting to play d5 and hit the bishop, but then white doesn't have to move the bishop straight away because he's got this. You know, block takes, pawn takes, lose your rook. You know, games have gone downhill very quickly from that point, yeah. So knight f6, black wins here 52% of the time. With d5, it's the other way around. Boots on the other foot, okay? So anyway, we are going down to chapter 4, bishop takes g8. Here, and bishop takes g8. Now, I'm going to turn on the fish. But more important than this is, curious. Queen g5 has been played a couple of times, but won once. Anyway, rook g8 is played all the time, so everyone plays that. And now in the game, my opponent captured the pawn, which is the most common. You might also get immediate queen g5, queen h5, sorry. Okay, so if queen h5 is played, then yes, you do play g6. Let's see this. I've got all this in my line, but obviously we do not refer to our notes when we are in live play. Queen takes h7 always, but black does well here. Rook g7 is the move. Yes, defended by the bishop. Just got to think more flexibly, Hunty. That's all it is. Rook g7 hits the queen. Queen's now looking somewhat awkward. Can't go there, can't go there. Can't stay where she is. So she's got a choice of 3 maybe unappealing squares, right? So, yeah, there you go. So I do have this line. This is just one to remember. Let's go back to the start. Calabrese, bishop trade. Takes... and we go ahead and we develop, right? The whole point of this is the king side is not that safe, okay? And the rook's moved, so we can't even castle anyway, so it's a moot point. Point is get this stuff out in the board, as quickly as you can and start to attack your opponent before he can attack you and take advantage of your weakness, right? The fact that we're a pawn down. So that's the whole point. If the queen comes out, we simply block. Okay? Yeah, that's fine. If a block takes, queen might come back there. So let's say, you know, if the queen comes back here, for example, so if queen at h2 isn't even on the top 5 for the fish. Fish just hates it. And you can see why, you know, because of this nice move. Okay, one to remember in the memory banks. Right, let's flip over to another Calabrese Countergambit. Our opponent here is a bit lower rated, 1280. But this just shows you how quickly it can go wrong. Okay, bishop's opening, f5. Takes, which, as we've seen, 47% of the time, they will just take. And now the correct move is, all together now, knight f6. Yeah, it's not, do not be tempted with the immediate d5. No, no, no. We have to stop Queenie and her mischievous ways. My opponent now plays the terrible d3. Why is this bad? Well, it stops the bishop actually from going to d3. So now, when I play d5, his bishop can only advance to here, in which case it's going to get kicked again, or it goes back to b3, which is not a happy place for the bishop, okay? So I grab the pawn. It's very important to recapture that pawn with development, if you can, at the first opportunity. The fish has reminded me of this, so thank you, fish. And just looking at that board, I'm like, yeah, that'll do. That will do. White has had 5 moves, and he's got 1 pawn shuffle and an awkward bishop. Right? I've had 5 moves, I've got 2 pieces out on the board and control of the centre. Go me, right. And let's see how that translates into a bumming. Okay, so bishop out, pin the knight. Can be an idea. I bring my bishop out now to look at f2. He takes, which is a surprise. Now, big choice here. I've got pawn takes, so I've got queen takes, right? My concern again is this, you know, anytime you play a Freddy style gambit, you've got to be aware of this diagonal. Okay, so I'm very, very conscious of that. So I'd like to be able to play g6. So I recapture with the queen. Okay, plus it's developing, right? Principles, 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 they're there for a good reason, they're there to help you. You can break them and bend them and ignore them, as Morpheus might say. But you've got to have a jolly good reason to do it, and that wasn't a good enough reason. So, you know, developing, all good. Plus, look where my queen is now. Look at where my bishop is now, right? I could play, for example, bishop here, attack his queen, and if he's not careful, boom, queen comes into f2. So, anyway, he comes out here. This is a very bad move. I mean, I've even got here, I've got g6 as well. g6 is an idea, but bishop g6, again, opens up this line for my queen, right? So that was a one-move threat. Not good, one-dimensional. Queen comes back to e2, he realises he has to defend f2, okay? Of course, I develop knight. Out comes knight. Where's the knight headed? There. Look at that. I mean, I would take 10-1 odds with the black pieces from this point, would you not? Right? Look, we've got the centre, we've got knight out, we've got 2 bishops on the board, he's got 1, right? We're ready to castle, we're spoilt for castling options, right? He grabs the pawn, damn it, okay? In comes the knight. So I'm threatening the queen, I'm threatening c2 with a fork, queen has to move, I castle, hit the bishop, bishop retreats. I grab the bishop, knight takes, okay? So interesting kind of idea, but I'm figuring, yes, I've got a good knight, but the point is, the bishop's now blocking my attack on here. I just want to open up the centre. I don't know even if e4 might be a good idea here. But anyway, we have this, knight comes out. Now he wants to castle, but now e5, okay? And now this pawn is pinned, can't take. So I'm attacking the pawn, I'm attacking the knight, I'm threatening the centre of the board, this part of the board, which is critical because his king isn't castled. He moves the knight. I take, okay, opening up the e-file. He moves, and now I've got a choice. I tossed up between rook e8 or putting the queen onto the e-file. Not there, okay, with check. I decide to move the queen because it comes with the fork on the knight, and then it's not until he moves that I actually realise the queen's defending the knight. So silly me, right? But I grab the free pawn, knight comes back, I come in trying to trade queens because I'm a pawn up, my king is safe, and I've got two bishops on a wide open board, right? He goes for the trade, probably not the best idea. Centralise my other rook, again, just principal play. b3 is played. Don't know why. And I just retreat my bishop now. So my bishops are now in a kind of a Danish style configuration, slicing down the board side by side, which means they're creating a force field that the king cannot penetrate. This is very important. This is one of the strengths of the bishop pair. Now he moves the king behind there, actually pinning this knight. So I say to myself, well, maybe I can attack this knight, I don't know. Rook comes in. Got two attackers on this now. I'm also attacking this pawn. He moves his rook, loses a pawn. King moves. Right, now, again, this knight is still pinned. He's gone from one pinned position to another one. So I grab the knight. And this is simply counting attackers and defenders. Grab the knight, bang, bang. And then, a lovely finish, actually, on this one. So, he's up against the ropes. My bishop is still cutting a slice through the board there. And he's got this rook stuck behind the pawn. Now, this was a waste of a move here, I realised, because then it came to me what I need to do. Right, he pushes the pawn, I attack the rook that's behind the pawn. Okay, and guess what as well? Look at this. So he moves his rook. I get a queen, and he can't capture with either rook because it's a discovered check. Boom. Right? Queen comes back, check. Pawn there. Okay, what would you play here? There's lots of tempting ideas. Queen a6 leaves the king only one legal move, and that's a forced mate. Beautiful checkmate, right? Queen here would have been tempting. King here. But then what's the continuation from that? And the bishop here, not really. Bishop here blocks your rook. So he can come here. You don't want to take with the queen. I think check there would be the move. Then he comes here. Then you take with the queen. That's a check. He can block there. And that's a check. Then he takes this, and you get your mate. Okay, but much slower. So I thought my way was more elegant. So there you go, a little introduction to the Calabrese Countergambit. If you like the Freddy Krueger repertoire, then you might want to try that for yourself. But you've got to know at least the first few. You've got to know what the main pitfalls are anyway. So enjoy. And thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.